But other than that, there's also another way of being like an initiator actually. So on top of following the opportunities that this world has to offer, you also can create your own opportunity by initiating something. Like let's say you initiate like a self-development program, or you initiate to create like, a mentoring program where you connect the alumni with the young kids and so on. It will also show to the HR that you're actually, like a truly born leader, that you also actually want to make a difference in this world. Hi, my name is Gabriella Hartono Putri, but people usually calls me Lala. I graduated from Bandung Institute of Technology atau ITB. I took math major back then. I currently work as a management consultant di company namanya BCG atau Boston Consulting Group.
So my name is Elice. I went to college at Northeastern University in Boston, and currently I'm working as an investor at Northstar Group. Northstar Group is actually an investment company. Started off as a private equity, tapi recently they also launched their venture fund. Jadi the VC fund is where I'm a part of. And essentially, I manage the investments end-to-end for early-stage investments, ranging from $500,000 to $10 million and above.
So for organizations, I joined several self-development programs. To name a few, there's Student Catalyst, there's also Paragon Indonesia Leaders, there's also the Accenture Women Mentoring Program, and also Students ex-CEO as part of their business skills competition team. Also like the Catholic Student Service, like KMK, we do like medical checkup gratis and all of this stuff. What else? Also like part of the McKinsey Fellowship Program. That's for the experiences, and also for like the true internship. I did an internship with P&G back then, so it's Procter & Gamble. It's an FMCG company. I also did internship with Strategian as a consulting intern.
Kalau jurusannya itu finance, sebenarnya business administration with concentration in finance.
Okay, first statement, agree or disagree? I face stereotypes due to my university background. 1, 2, 3.
Agree.
Disagree. Okay. Well, for me, so I went to college in Northeastern Boston. I think no particular stereotype. But I feel like people who usually get other stereotypes are the local grads. And I think that's my point of view.
So for me, I went to ITB in Bandung. It's actually a good stereotype that I feel, karena ITB is actually one of the best university in Indonesia. And every time I say like I'm from ITB, they will always say, "Oh, you must be a smarties." So yeah, I think that's a good problem to have.
I was surrounded by ambitious individuals in my university. 1, 2, 3.
Agree. So I think for me, if I'm not mistaken, statistically, right, ITB only accept like 5 to 10% of the people who apply. So naturally, because of that filtering criteria, and also like the competitiveness of it, the people that got in are those who have drives in life and who also wants to excel at their best, right? So that's why I feel like there's like a bit of competitiveness there. But I still feel that's a healthy environment as long as you find like the right set of people to surround you with.
Okay, so for me, my university has this program called co-op. So co-op is a 6 months internship that is mandatory, so everyone have to go through it. And you need at least to do 2 co-ops. Nah, for the co-op itu, there's internal job portal with basically all the jobs that you can apply to. And these specific jobs listings are only for our university students. Jadi we compete with literally each other for the jobs that we want. Jadi it's very, I would say very competitive. Tapi I think one thing for sure is that I think it can be in a very good setting. Jadi we help each other. For example, if I want to co-op at X company, then I will talk to people who has done the co-op there, and they'll be very willing to help. Jadi I think it's a very friendly competition, but I think overall, because of this program, everyone, I would say in my campus is quite ambitious.
Tadi kan dari awal udah bilang ambitiousnya kayak masih oke lah ya. It's a good one for everyone. How about yours? Tadi ambitiousnya gimana?
I think I also echo what Alice said. As long as you find like the right set of people who is actually willing to share, as well as like to help what their learnings are and so on, it's actually like a healthy competition, to be honest. Because there's also a lot of people who already made it, but they also have a passion of like, you know, paying it forward. So they literally like mentor the juniors and like share their experiences there. So I feel like it's actually a good environment to have, because you can also get inspired by all of those people who's also who already made it before you, right?
I wish I would have gone to the university or any university in the location of the other person.
For the bachelor degree, or
Oh, I don't know. Sexy. I think for me, I always wanted to study abroad. Jadi I know that global university is not an option. But I do think, you know, despite that, there's also a lot of benefits of, you know, going to school locally. Because then, number one, I think you probably have a stronger local network. And then number two, you have good local contacts, which sometimes I feel like I can miss. But overall, I value studying abroad. They just get a more diverse opinions from other people, and I think just trying to live in a more developed country music and see whether there's things that you can kind of improve in your home country.
Yeah. So for me, if I look back, I wouldn't make like a different choice than going to ITB, because my 4 years in ITB is just like, you know, full of experiences. There are a lot of extracurricular. There's also a lot of like, you know, self-development programs that I can join by being an ITBers. And I wouldn't trade it for anything else, to be honest.
I think I will add, okay, I don't think I can get into the local good uni. I have quite
But
bad,
just be humble.
like bad bahasa. Terus I heard SMDPTM something like I would fail miserably. So ada sih.
So just be humble.
Masih sampai ada but anyways.
I think the answer will be different about when we're talking about masters.
For sure, it will be different because
Probably the same, but for England.
yeah, for sure. Masters, because I feel like masters, you have like a niche program already. So like the bottom line is, for bachelor's degree, sometimes like people still choose like the wrong major. So I feel like if you count like the cost of it and everything, it will be like, you know, like less trade-offs if you go to like local uni first, because you might take like the wrong major. But like for masters, I think as you grew up, you know yourself better. You already know exactly what you want to study. So, you know, like paying more by like going abroad with like statistically also like it's also like a better university. I think it will eventually pay off.
Yeah, I agree. So I think for masters, I think being abroad gives you a lot of advantage. And usually the program is very niche that sometimes you can't find specific programs like that here locally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, I agree with what she says.
My educational background has equipped me for my professional experience. Agree or disagree?
Agree. I think like we can break down like the education into two parts, right? The formal education, also the informal education. Because I took math, to be very honest, it doesn't really help me in my consulting world that much. because I took pure math, right? So like all the formulas that I studied doesn't really apply for the consulting job that I currently work in. But the informal education, like through the self-development programs, through like all the organizations that I joined, the leadership out of it, how you work in a team settings and all of those stuff, I think it really helps me to have that work ethic and to excel in consulting. But on top of that, I will also give math also like a recognition, because it really helps me in the fundamental logical thinking. So it also helps me to grasp the problem that we face easier in that matter.
Yeah, I think I echo in a sense that the actual study itself, I think is useful. Like I took calculus, never used it in my life ever, uh, or history. But I think what helps me a lot, number one, is the internship program that I mentioned. So a co-op that's mandatory for us. And number two is that I would say learning how to work with other people. Whether it be like a teamwork project, tadi kayak non-work classes, more like clubs, organizations. I think those, or leadership skills, right? I think those soft skills matters. And for me, waktu itu back in college, there's this one course where we learn how to literally apply for jobs. It's like a 1 credit course, only once a week. Tapi they help you with like resume, how to interview. So I think those are very tangible. Tapi I know that not a lot of universities offer that, right? But for me, we have that one class that I think it's very useful.
ITB also has that.
Oh iya.
Yeah.
Oh
gitu.
University background matters in the recruitment process and career opportunities. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
I think depends on which part of my career. Tapi if we're talking about consulting, it used to be that they only recruit people from, I would say, top universities, whether that be local or global. So, unfortunately, if you don't go to these top schools, the first, I would say, filter is your school and GPA. Jadi, they will not even look at your profile and look at you, also any other things, or does not even give you a chance to interview. So I think it helps, I would say, at least get your foot on the door. Maybe it doesn't help you get through the process. So I think that requires something else. But at least to get an interview, and that would really help. I think.
Yeah, I think I echo what Elice said, but just like to give like more context, right? I think nowadays, if you're already like pursuing education in a non-top schools, I wouldn't say you won't make it at all, coming in from all over the places. So what I want to say is I want to also encourage all of the young kids, not kids, like young adults out there. If you're already like pursuing education in a non-top schools, I wouldn't say you won't make it at all. You can make it if you work hard for it. Like because the filter is also like at the bottom of your CV is also your work experience, your organization experience. So when you add all those experiences and you maximize the opportunity that you have while you were in your university, you still can get in. So bottom line is like a no, but I would say that I agree with the statement, because to be honest, being in ITB also helps me to get like several offers at that time.
Additional question on that one, kita sempat disebut mungkin kalau tetap company offer itu mungkin filter pertama sekolah, mungkin university. Buat tadi yang teman-teman lain mungkin they don't go to top university, tadi sempat disebutkan how to compensate, mungkin yang banyak experience-nya gitu. Tapi boleh nggak share kalau misalnya dari top first ngelihat anak-anak yang bukan dari top schools, dari internships atau more to organizational skills or more to leadership skills, biasanya kayak gitu.
Mungkin a bit mix of everything. Cuman I would say try to get big brand names on your CV that pops out gitu. So I think whether that be internship for like a really big company atau enggak kayak I think GPA is another thing juga, right? At least filter. For me, my CV, I like to put personal interest just to add color of who I am as a person. Uh, but I think a bit of everything. Tapi I think brand logos are important as a first step of eye catching gitu. So I think try to get those like golden companies lah.
I gotta agree, because it's also easier, right? If you put yourself in the HR shoes, it will be easier for you to understand what these people do, if they already like recognize like the brand name or like the organization name, right? So yeah. But other than that, there's also another way of being like an initiator actually. So on top of following the opportunities that this world has to offer, you also can create your own opportunity by initiating something. Like let's say you initiate like a self-development program, or you initiate to create like, you know, a mentoring program where you connect the alumni with the young kids and so on. It will also show to the HR that you're actually you know, like a truly born leader, that you also actually want to make a difference in this world.
Actually, one more thing to mention. Usually, actually, almost all companies have specific, I would say, way in. Okay, for example, for McKinsey, I was also one of the mentors for While I, Young Leader for Indonesia. It literally is like a mentorship program for students that's basically being mentored by existing McKinsey consultant. So I think there's also another way in it. It helps you, at least when you put that in your resume, people will notice. Sama kedua, you get direct exposure to the, I would say, employees of the companies of their aspirations. So I think try to join those like very specific programs for very specific companies that you want to go to.
There is an equal distribution of local and international graduates in the company or industry. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
I would say disagree. Depends on which, like, we're talking about the MDB.
Yes. On the basis of Health Q1
Okay, disagree.
or North Star, for that matter, right?
Yeah, kalau McKinsey disagree.
Kalau North Star juga disagree juga.
Kalau soal disagree.
Disagree juga, right? Regardless, disagree.
Disagree.
To be honest, I didn't know statistically, but I think like roughly guesstimate, I think I gotta agree, because I know also like a lot of people coming from ITB, UI, UGM, IPB, Prasetya Mulia, but also there are a lot of MBA graduates, or like just like bachelor's degree graduates from abroad. So yeah, I think it roughly, I think it would be like around 50-50, I would say. At least in BCG, yeah.
I think for McKinsey, at least during my time, we're still majority foreign grad. I know that recently in the past 1-2 years, they try to hire a lot more locals. So maybe now it's a bit more evenly distributed, but for me back then it was 80% foreign grads, or at least local grad that has done masters abroad. So
How about the finance one right now?
sekarang I would say more evenly distributed compared to McKinsey back then, but I think still majority foreign grads.
I have faced challenges in my workplace because of where I went to for university. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
I think the challenges I face has nothing to do with my education. It's usually just a challenge in general. I think workplace challenge is mostly related to specific things, whether they be dealing with difficult people, whether they be working on something with tight timeline or deadline. Jadi, what I realize is it has nothing to do with education.
Yeah. And like, I mean, like in consulting, the challenge can come from either like the internal team and like the client, right, as the external stakeholder that we engage with. From the internal team, I don't think they will stamp you as like, you know, like, oh, you're IPB, you're UI, you're like Prasmo, whatever anymore once you get in. So like, you're either you're an associate, or like you're a senior associate, or like you're a consultant, because like the expectation will be a bit different depending on like which level you are in. So I don't think university plays a role in that part, in terms of like the expectation, which will also translate to the challenges, the work challenges that you will face, right? And also like in terms of like from the client side, I don't think they will ask you bluntly like, oh, where do you graduate? Like, how can we trust you and like all of those stuff? Because they will see you as like, oh, you're a BCG, you're a Mackenzie, no longer like you're anything there or like you're an OE people. So I don't think that brand of like university poses any challenges or like any questions once I enter the workplace.
Kalau kita ngomongin soal nama universitasnya nggak matter, tapi gimana kalau nanti kita ngomongin the work culture, itu kan pasti work culture a bit different, a lot different dengan ketika kita kuliah kan. Lu how you adjust, lu nge-prepnya gimana tuh pasti beda nggak sama nggak gitu.
Adjusting to work culture versus back in college gitu. Oh, I see. I think with college, your challenges are usually getting a good score, sama securing a job after you graduate. Which I don't think really applies, right? In work setting, it's usually more like, obviously you still have to try to do a good job. But like I mentioned, right? It's usually how do you deal with a boss, for example? Like that's the kind of situation that happen in uni then. So yeah, there are some similar challenges, but mostly very different.
Yeah. To be honest, I gotta agree also with Alice. It's different because to be honest, like in university, let's say like in a group setting of like a project, right? It will still be like a mix of people who really want to get an A or like who is like a free riders, right? To be honest, you cannot deny that there is still some people who are behaving like that, right? Whereas like in the workplace, it's more of like all of the people want to excel and all of the people want to, bring their best work and like showcase it to the partners, right? So in that sense, it's like a bit different of a challenge. Whereas like in the university, you need like to drive people to be able to finish the job, even though with those like free riders. Whereas in the workplace, it's more about how you engage in the intellectual debate wisely, because everyone has an opinion, everyone has a like a really good point of view. How you can find the middle ground out of it and like propose the best recommendation out of everyone's ideas. So yeah, that's one example of it.
I think you also deal with very different people at work, right? You can let's say meet like a 50-year-old CEO client or a 40-year-old boss or dealing with an 18-year-old interns, right? You see a lot more diversity on who you deal with. In uni, it's usually just your friends, right? And similar age group, I think very different world.
Next, I wish to work abroad. Agree or disagree?
Agree?
Disagree. For me, I think it's because I also have within me a passion of like nation building. So I believe there are still a lot of opportunities and also problems to solve within Indonesia itself. And being born and like grew up all my life in Indonesia, I have that attachment of like how I can maximize my potential to benefit my country. So because of that passion of like nation building itself, I believe that working in Indonesia will fulfill my my goal of like being an asset for the country.
Okay, so I think for me, I don't want to work abroad forever. Jadi I agree with juga where number one, there's a lot of opportunity here. I am in Tanah Air, right? This is my home country, so obviously I have more passion to improve the people in our country gitu. And opportunity wise, there's definitely a lot more juga, right? But I do want to live at least try to work abroad for a little bit, to get either a different experience, to get inspiration, just in case I want to bring something back here. So I think it's always good to have that kind of work abroad mindset. So I think opportunity to work abroad, I would do it for the short term, not long term. offer dia 10x salary gitu.
Oh, that X.
By Indonesia.
I think, but I gotta agree with Alice, right? There's also like an advantage to it. If you work abroad, you can get like those ideas that you can replicate here, and eventually you will also be an asset for the country. So I wouldn't say like no, like hard no, but like for now, I envision myself to still work in Indonesia, even though like if I'm pursuing like a master's degree abroad. I will also, for sure, I will come back to Indonesia and dedicate myself for the country.
Yeah, I think juga, you can also pick something in between, right? Where either you work for a global company, so I think you get to deal with global people and global culture, or number two, be in a position where you work travel. Consulting is one actually, right? Like in consulting, I was in Malaysia for 3 months, for example, and that's normal, right? I think that's a good balance, in my opinion. So I think something to also think about.
Last one, yeah. My education background has shaped me to be the person I am today. Ini nggak college law, it's fine. Talking about educational in general. Agree or disagree? One, two,
Agree.
Agree. I think where you go to school influence who you hang out with. So I don't think it's the education per se, but the institution brings people that surround you, and that would obviously shape you as a person. Whether they be your friends, even mentors, teachers, the kind of activities that's given, the kind of level of education that's given, I think it shapes a person.
Yeah, I think the informal education plays more role towards shaping who I am today. On top of like the networking, like Alice mentioned, it's also about the kind of activities that you engage in. Like for instance, like back in like junior high school and also senior high school, I was very active in the student council. I was the president, also like the co-president of the student council within my school. So that leadership experience itself shapes me into, like an empathetic leader. Also like shapes me into a better person who can drive other people towards the same goal, which really helps me in today's era. Because I mean, like in consulting, as you step up the ladder, you will soon become like a project leader. You will soon become like a partner, and like so on. Or in general, like wherever you work, you also need that leadership skill, right? So those informal experiences that I engage in really shaped me into a better leader, I would say.
Good on that. Yeah, that's useful revenue.
I think two things. Yeah, I think two things, right? Finding a good school, and once you're in that good school, you gotta maximize the opportunity that you have. Because just sitting in a good school but doing nothing, you just like kayak kupu-kupu gitu, kuliah pulang. You wouldn't also like get the most out of it. So yeah, I would encourage people to do more extracurricular outside of your academic excellence, but also engage in those community as well.
You also have fun.
Yeah, but also have fun, to be honest. Yeah, like I mean, because nowadays there are a lot of like ambitious kids, juniors, like this. They do our internships, right?
Like internships, men clubs. I'm like, okay. I honestly think that it's a once in a lifetime, right? It's a 4 years, very short. So I would advocate for more personal enjoyment. Eventually it helps you jadi orang aku juga. And I think like for me, kalau the US, there's sorority, fraternity. So I was a part of that. So I think that's kind of my fun part, right? In Indo, probably something similar mungkin ada gitu. So I think I would encourage doing that because most of my best friends come from those kind of more like fun enjoyment setting.
It's a balance. It's yin and yang, right? You gotta find your balance. Yeah.
Jadi I think for me, maybe to structure it better, I would say two things. The first one is to enhance more technical skills. And, depends on where you want to go. For example, if you want to go to consulting, then basic finance, problem solving, case studies practice. I think those would fit into technical. I think some basic, for example, skills juga kayak Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, right? I think these tools are, I would say, also categorized as technical. I think the second one is more on networking sih, because I think that's quite important for various reasons. The first, when you network, you get to meet actual people who's doing the roles that you aspire to go to. Then you know in and out, roughly what the job would look like. And usually it also opens up opportunity for you to eventually apply to that specific company when you already know someone there. Jadi, I think I would focus on these two things. Yeah.
Okay. So let's think about this strategically, right? So like post-graduation, when you want to enter the workforce, the first thing that they will see is your CV, right? So let's break it down. What's within the CV, right? The first one is, of course, your GPA. So you cannot deny that you got to excel academically for you to have like a good GPA, for you to get called for an interview, basically. The second part is your organizational experience. So I would say join those organization, those self-development program, bisa yang internal, bisa yang external. So internally, there's always himpunan, right? But also externally, there are a lot of opportunities out there. There's like, to name a few, there's like Students Catalyst, there's Student XCO, like those names that I mentioned that I joined during university. But I believe nowadays, pasti lebih banyak lagi opportunity out there. The third part is the internship part. So for internship, I would suggest once you already know which field you want to be in, let's say you want to be in consulting, aim for a consulting internship opportunities. And also aim for the big brand names. So you can see BCG, Bain, and all of those names, right? As far as possible. But also another thing is to have certification, I would say. If you failed like in securing like an internship opportunity, or like you failed in like being the leader of an organization, the substitute thing that you can do instead of doing nothing out of your time in university is to obtain a certification, because there's also a lot right now, right? That exists like from Coursera, and I believe some of it are actually free, so it's very accessible to all of the people out there. Okay, so to be very frank, back then at my time itu nggak sebanyak itu, so it's very obvious which one you want to join, karena kayak you also can see from the alumni network that they have. So you can judge by that, like how is the organization actually shape the person from like, like a junior, then like after joining the program, how do they transform, right? So just seeing at the history of like how the organization really helps those people can help you to filter out like which organization you want to join in. So yeah, I think that's, yeah, you can take a look from the historical part out of it. And like how you can get that is basically to connect with like the alumni out of the organization, ask them, approach them, whether do you think this organization helps you, what are the activities that they do, and so on. Because I believe all the organization must publish, right? Like what are the agenda from that, like 3 months, 6 months program that they have. With the current circumstances. So to be honest, COVID actually changed everything. The way I see it is nowadays there are more accessible opportunities online. So when I review like the CV of the juniors, they put like 10 internship whatsoever. I was like, how is that possible with the amount of time that is constrained, right? It turns out they do it like online, so they can do it in parallel with with schools, right? So I would say how to maximize that is seek for the opportunity that fits you best. If you feel like you can do an offline internship or like offline job, like it will be better for sure, because you can connect deeply with the people. But if not, if you seek for like the quantity out of it, you can also do like online internship. But again, the watch out is don't only seek for the opportunity for the sake of having the title and put it in your CV without actually making any contribution or like taking any learnings out of it. Because the most important part out of those activities is actually how it shaped you as a person, what kind of learning that you get out of it, whether it be technical or whether it be like soft skill on how to work in a team setting, but also about the contribution that you make to the company or like to the organization itself. Because even though you list down like 10 things in your CV, but during the interview, you cannot really explain and elaborate like what kind of contribution or like impact that you have created, the HR will not buy it or like the interviewer will not buy it. So have a balance. And also like we already discussed before, don't forget to also have fun, because work will always be there, like, you know, like until you're like 50, 60. But like college life and like all of those fun moments will only stay for like 4 years. So you gotta also have fun.
I would say number one, try to engage in a lot of activities that suits your passion, whether it be clubs, organizations. I think secondly, I think early in your career would be good to try out different things. Jadi I know sometimes you're fixed on wanting to do one thing. Cuman I think it's really good time for you to try different things, whether that be through internships, or just I would say exchange programs. I think maximize those areas sih. I think it's similar to the kind of the first answer ya. Jadi lebih technical and networking, clubs, organization. So like beyond coursework gitu, I think is something that's quite important. Tapi to me personally, I also like to say, try to have fun in college, right? I know it's a very short period of time where you can, I would say, have fun juga gitu. Because once you're working forever, right? So, I think for me, if I were to give myself advice, it's just to also have fun. With new friends, have hobbies, right? Not just particularly too focused on just your career gitu.